In this video, we look back to 1978, when football hooligans were arguably at their peak. This time, it's pre-Cardiff Soul Crew against Millwall's Bushwhackers. Let's get on with the stories. Millwall bushwhacker Clive told us. I remember this game well. As soon as their coaches pulled into Ilderton Road car park, a mass exodus of Millwall from Jews Hill was apparent, with Millwall also arriving from Ilderton Road. So a trap-like situation. Most of the Cardiff lot were spanked as they alighted their coaches, but loads fecked off without entering the ground. Dwyer getting chinned by the corner flag, Ilderton/halfway line, seemed secondary to the shenanigans of the Cardiff lot, half of them now doing the London knowledge on foot. Not taking nothing away from them, they always showed at the Den year in year out, and massive respect to them. But on this occasion, and the era at the Den back then, they didn't stand a chance. I think there were about 150 left in the pen. Some left at half-time because they thought it safer than waiting for the final whistle. I heard they asked the police to escort them, and they told them to fuck off. The ones that left at half-time would have had to face the youngsters who lurked about waiting for just this moment. We waited for Cardiff after the match, but the remaining 100 melted away. It's no big deal. Just think of this. Man United took over every ground they went to in the 70s. Sometimes 5,000, sometimes 10,000. None came to Millwall in 1974. None. That's how bad it was down there. Makes you think, don't it? I think those 5 years from 73 to 79, Millwall was the worst ground to visit in England, along with West Ham. But to be fair, so were many grounds. In fact, nearly all grounds were a nightmare because there were no police escorts. I've been away with Wall and had to be very aware at places like Cardiff and Swansea, etc. Mad days when you look back, but I'd still go back in a heartbeat. Rather that than being a 60-odd-year-old fart reminiscing about hooligan bygone days. Sad, ain't it? Cardiff fan Mark told us. Millwall away 78, lost 2-0. We went up on the supporters' coach Aidar Glass bus and arrived at midday. The next 5 hours were to be the most terrifying experience I've ever had. Total mayhem from the time we got off the bus to getting back on the bus, minus the windows. I've never seen a mob who wanted to maim anybody like these. Psychopaths in butchers' coats whose sole intention was to inflict as much pain as possible. I'll never forget being asked the time with a knife being pressed to the back of my neck. This was a time before police escorts and travelling away meant you were on your own. 2 got stabbed and another bottled as soon as we got off the coach. Some Cardiff legged it up the road heading where I know not. I kept my head down and walked on. The knife man moved on to someone else. Probably sussed I was shitting myself. Seen 2 boys from Neath I knew outside ground. Went in the wrong end of ground with them and just walked round to where the 200 or so City fans were penned in. Either side of them were hundreds of Millwall, a seething, hateful mass, just itching to jump the fence and kill you. No one fancied their chances. We asked the nearest copper if we could get a police escort back to the coaches now, rather than wait until the final whistle. And he said, "No, we haven't got enough coppers for that, son. You'll be fine." I turned to the grown men with kids doing the slitting throat move and pointing to outside the ground, with the coppers just laughing. Some Cardiff did leave at half-time, and I later learned they got ambushed by the coaches by Millwall, who didn't even go to the match. A couple got slashed. You got to remember, Cardiff's away following in the 70s was poor, really, especially against the likes of Millwall and West Ham. But to be fair, so was everyone else's. Virtually every team that visited the Den in this era came unstuck, and probably the only one who had some kind of result was West Ham. That's all I can say is, they must have had one hell of a mob. Anyway, after the game we all tried to keep our heads down. There was no mass Cardiff mob, just small groups of Cardiff being picked off one by one. I got a good old-fashioned kicking, and got off lightly, and managed to get back on the bus, minus the windows, for a very cold journey back to South Wales. That season must have gone down as the worst ever for Cardiff, and no wonder the Soul Crew formed up not long after. I remember we got done at Millwall, Forest, Chelsea, and surrounded at Wolves on a night match. Only 200 of us. I would never have believed after this season that we would become one of the top 5 firms in the country, but somehow we did. Don't get me wrong, we were awesome at home, but some of those away journeys, everywhere you went, you could get battered. It was a nightmare, but probably the same for anyone coming to Ninian Park, I suppose. We thank Clive and Mark for their recollections. It's clear that Cardiff did turn up, but were immediately attacked, and did indeed ask for police protection at half-time. No big deal asking for help rather than face the Millwall hordes, is it really? Please like, share and subscribe, as it really helps our channel grow to give you bigger, better content.